Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Cindy Finkenbinder. I'm with Alpha Omega Accounting. And the reason we're doing this is because, one, we're all stuck in the house and need stuff to do. and two, we are, there's so much stuff going on right now that we need to know what all is going on with each of these items. And so today I've got 4 different classes going. We have this one that is on the navigating for your business through this. And then we are going to be doing one tomorrow morning on doing the small business administration's loan applications. And then on, let's see, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be doing one on how it affects you as an individual, all of these different stimulus packages. And then on Tuesday, we'll be doing one on doing the, on how this affects investors. So, you know, if you have like property managers or if you're investing in any kind of real estate, stocks, cryptocurrency, any of that, how that is being affected. So I invite you to sign up for one or all of them. It doesn't, just so that you've got all of the information that you need. So today, Tammy Parker is joining me. And Tammy does consulting for businesses. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Tammy?
Today, I'll be mostly talking about the implications from an HR standpoint, and there are things that are enacted now that will impact even the smallest of businesses from an HR piece. I come from giant corporate America, and I have been doing this. I'm coming up on my 4th birthday for my business, so I'm super excited about that. But I've been doing it for small business owners for 4 years, and I read a lot of really boring laws, so you don't have to.
That's a cool way of introducing that. My son Scott is also on here, and Scott is going to be monitoring the chat. So if it gets real, right now we don't have so many people in here that it's really loud. So I just ask that you mute yourself if if it starts getting loud in your area. You can unmute yourself, or you can put questions in the chat, and Scott will interrupt us every once in a while and say, hey, you've got a question. So either way will work. Okay? So, okay, I'm Cindy Finkenbinder. I own Alpha Omega Accounting. Our website is down there, so you can take that information. On the website, there is blogs and stuff on all sorts of things, including all of this stuff that's going on. Yes. And so we are going to start with the Paid Sick Leave and Paid Family Leave Act. Mostly because this has got a lot of refundable credits in here for businesses. If you do not have an employee, it can still apply to you. Because it is also, some of these are also working for self-employed and independent contractors as well. And so it's not necessarily just if you have employees. Now, this applies to all employers that have fewer than 500 employees. What this did is it took the standard sick pay and leave time and family leave and all that stuff that is required.
Did you start recording?
Yes, I did. Thank you. What it does is it's taking all of those things that are required for large businesses, and it pulled it down to mean that every business has to offer these, at least for this year. Now, keep in mind that some of these, they could actually stretch out, to more years, and we could have this as a permanent thing, but right now, it's only for this year. It expires at the end of 2020. Now then, you can be exempt from the child care requirement if you have fewer than 50 employees and you can prove that it will jeopardize the vitality of your business. So if it is, if your business is one of these ones that if, you only have 2 people working and you have let's say a veterinarian, they are required to be there. And they are required, they are one of the ones that can stay open. And so if there's only 2 people and one's, you need both people, then you can get away with proving that you are not, that everybody is required to be there. Now, some of these, yeah?
I was just going to interject. If your business happens to be closed right now, you will still, if you open at all during this year, this will all still apply to you.
Yes. Now then, this thing comes with some refundable payroll tax credits. Now then, these tax credits only apply to people that you continue to pay through while they're on leave. It does not apply to people that you are continuing to employ. And so if you have, 1 person on leave, it works for them. If you have, and it'll only be for that person. If you have 10 people that are employed, you put 5 of them on sick leave, then it'll only apply to the 5 that you're giving sick leave wages to. And so what this is it's paid sick leave up to 2 weeks for employees who are unable to work or telework. That means that if they can actually telecommute like a lot of us are right now, then it doesn't apply to them because they can still work. And they have to meet one of these 6 criteria. They have to be subject to a federal, state, or a local quarantine area. And I think that right now the entire country is under that. So, basically we all do that. The individuals who are advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine. So if they are being told by their doctor that they may have been exposed, then, and have to self-quarantine, then they're fine. Now, anyone that wants to self-quarantine just because they want to, or they're afraid of it, it doesn't apply to them. They have to have a healthcare provider say that they need to. Those who are experiencing symptoms and seeking a medical diagnosis fall under these. If you have a bona fide need to care for an individual who is in quarantine or an isolation order, that means a child, a parent, things like that. And if you are caring for a child under the age of 18 whose school or daycare center has closed. So that puts like 90% of the, of your employees in the middle of this and will fall under it. And the one that most of them are falling under though is any employee experiencing a substantially similar circumstance or condition. So if they haven't been tested, they have really bad allergies, but think they have the virus, they would fall under this even if they have had no exposure to it and the doctor doesn't want to test it. Okay.
Can I add an HR point real quick for you, Cindy? So the way this has played out, not in COVID, but in the past, if you had an employee that said, I'm afraid I want to be at home, and you as the employer have the right to say that doesn't count. The courts have viewed that if there was another reasonable employee that disagreed, that did show up to work, if they sided with the employer. But if there weren't any other reasonable employees that disagreed, they would side with the employee. So just a heads up of how that's played out in the courts in the past.
That's good to know, because I have never dealt with that Family Leave Act.
Yeah, I have too much training on it.
Okay, so then we have the paid family leave. It requires that you provide up to 10 weeks of paid family leave for employees who have been employed for at least 30 days. So if you have somebody that just started last week, then they don't count. But if you have somebody that's been with you for the whole year, then they fall into this. This one actually is because a lot of this one is because of having to care for a minor child.
Mm-hmm.
With all the schools closed, this has really gotten really bad. Not covered. An employee who cannot work or telework due to a workplace closure. So if you actually close the business completely down, it's not considered taking leave. If your business is still open, or if you're having everybody work from home, then they would fall under this family leave. But most of them are gonna, if the business closed completely, this would include things like gyms, some restaurants that, went ahead and closed completely, theaters, any, entertainment venue type of a thing, stuff like that. But if they are open to do a partial closure,
Mm-hmm.
then there's another regulation that they will fall under. So the employers are prohibited from requiring the employee to find a replacement. So in other words, a lot of bars and restaurants have that where, if you can't work that day, they ask you to have everybody, that you have to find somebody to replace you. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot ask that for this.
I want to add one thing too. One of the addendums to all of this is that this is job protected leave. They get to have their job back when they come back.
Right.
And that's another important kind of scary piece. Now, let's say your business dropped off and you sent people out on leave and their leave was over and they wanted to come back and your business was so slow, you could do layoffs at that time through a regular layoff procedure, but all of this leave is job protected.
That's good to know, because I didn't know which one that was. Okay.
All of it is.
Yeah, this is the eligibility requirements. Now, these are different eligibility requirements per whether they're doing sick leave or family leave. Remember, family leave is only for if they have to take care of somebody else. Sick leave is calculated by the employee's regular pay up to $511 per day. Now, how they got to this number was using the minimum federal wage.
Mm-hmm.
And the minimum federal wage is a lot lower than our minimum wage in Colorado is. Okay, but this, you still only have to do you can do up to 511 a day for up to 2 weeks. Okay, now then those categories that I gave you earlier, those 6 categories, it only applies for those first 3. If they fall under the last 3 of the categories, then it's calculated at 2/3 of the employee's regular payroll, up to $200 a day. Okay. Part-time employees are eligible based only on what their average number of hours worked was for over a 2-week period. So if they work for you for the whole year, but they only work part-time, then you have to take and calculate how much they actually work for you and do an average of 2 weeks for that entire time. But you only have to go back a year, so don't go like wild and go back 5 years so you can calculate it. It's only 1 year. The paid family leave is up to 10 weeks at 2/3 of the employee's regular rate on the number of hours that they were scheduled to work. That one is throwing everybody because if they weren't scheduled to work that week, if they happen to have vacation or something like that, then then this is throwing a lot of people off. So just be careful with that, because if they were scheduled to work, you can also use prior work history if they happen to be on vacation that week or something like that.
And if they have paid time off, accrued paid time off,
Yeah.
the law says they can use it for the first 10 days only, but that would be full rate because it's part of their compensation.
Now, the regular rate of pay is the average of 6 months leading up to leave, including tips, commissions, overtime hours are included in there, but at the normal rate. So if they happen to work a 60-hour work week, then you only count it as 60 hours, but don't put the additional 1.5 pay in there. It's just at their normal work thing. Healthcare providers and emergency responders can elect out of this. They can require you to come in even if you are sick. I don't know of any that would at this point, but, but they can.
But legally, they can do that.
The paid sick or paid leave and family leave started yesterday. And it will expire on the 31st of December. So it's for the whole year. So we have to watch that even after all this is over and they stopped all the quarantines and stuff, then we're still gonna be under this regulation. Now, if people started taking leave and stuff before the 1st, that they, decided that, then you're not required to pay them for that time period. It only starts on April 1st. Now, what this is supposed to do, it's supposed to be neutral for the employer. The employer pays the employee, but you can recover the cost only for those that are on leave through this act as a dollar-for-dollar payroll tax or payroll tax credit up to certain limits. Now, the thing is that means that you have to pay it out first, and then you can get it back as a credit when you go to do your payroll taxes for that quarter. There is a couple of things for larger employers that they are creating a form right now that you will be able to get those refunds at the end of each month. But that still means that you still have to pay it out first and then do the credits. The amount paid to the employer is the employee is included in all of the employee's income. So this can also work for a self-employed person, that if you are for self-employment taxes and stuff like that, that you can lower how much you're paying in your estimated tax payments, because you're not going to get the credit back since you don't have a 941, but you can lower how much you're doing on your estimated tax payments for self-employed. Because basically what's going to happen is that those self-employment taxes will not be there. But again, you have to fall under that thing that you took leave for that time. So you have to prove that you were sick or taking care of somebody and couldn't run your business. So be careful in taking that if you're self-employed, that you have to be able to show that you were one of the ones that fell into that that category, that you could have taken leave if you had worked for someone else. The paid leave is exempt from employment taxes, but if you continue health insurance coverage, the credit will gross up to cover those additional health insurance costs. But that's all going to be on the 941. This means that the IRS is going to have to redo all of our 941s for the year, So they may not be available. Keep in mind that your first quarter payroll tax 941s are due on the 31st of this month. And so because of that, they may not have the new forms out by the time we need them. So we need to watch that, and because right now they don't have the new form out. You cannot double dip. So you cannot have the payroll tax credit and receive money from the federal leave program credits and do the payroll protection program from the SBA. So you can't do all three of them. You have to pick which one is going to be the most advantage to you. It doesn't necessarily, that's going to be really tough to do, because we're going to have to figure out, you're going to have to figure out which ones of these credits are going to give you the best benefit. Okay, the payroll credits work by offsetting dollar to dollar with respect to all employees, federal withholding, and the employer share. I have employees and employers, but it's only the employer share, sorry, of Social Security and Medicare. Mostly because those are taken out of the employees' gross anyway. Any refund can be expedited. This new refund streamline form has not been released yet, so we'll have to see what this form looks like once it's released. We will be, if you follow us on our Facebook site or on our blogs on our website, we will let you know when that form is out. Self-employed individuals will claim this credit on their income tax return. So that means that you can't actually claim it until you do your taxes for 2020, which, as you all know, won't happen until March, sometime between March and October of next year, okay? Employee retention credits. These ones are different kind of credit than the first one was, okay? This one applies to employers who are fully or partially suspending operations. So if you are completely shutting down your business, or if you are doing like curbside only or something like that, it will apply to you, where the other one wouldn't. You have to have a decrease in gross receipts of more than 50% over the same time period the year before. And so you have to take this 50%. So basically what you made from January through March of 2019, you have to have made 50% less than that for 2020 in order to apply, in order to do this. The credits are not available if you obtain a covered loan under the payroll protection program from the SBA. Only some of these loans will disqualify you, so don't automatically assume that you can't apply for any of the SBA loans. Keep in mind that some of them you'll be able to qualify and still take the credit, and some of them you may be better off doing the loan as opposed to taking the credit. So we just have to calculate which one you're going to be better off with. The credits only apply if you continue to pay your employees even though you are closed. So if you are closed and totally lay everybody off, like old Chicago did, then you don't get any of these credits. If you continue to pay people even though they're at home and they're not working, then you can take these credits. This is basically to make sure that people still have income at the end of the year. There is a payroll tax holiday.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Thank you. So our business closed. We've laid everybody off,
Mhm.
but that was before all of this stuff came out.
Right.
So it may make more sense for us to pay our employees and not have people on unemployment.
Yeah.
But since we've already laid everybody off, can we like change our mind and go back?
Yes, you can. You can you can bring people back on until, but you have to do it before June 30th.
Okay, so what if people are going to claim unemployment? Can they claim unemployment in that interim before we hire them back?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, there's a sort of a payroll tax holiday. Now, the reason I say sort of is because you still, all it's doing is deferring your payment to next year. You still have to pay it. Okay, although they are calling this a payroll tax holiday, basically what it is we're moving your 2020 payroll taxes to 2021. Okay, so you still have to pay it. You can defer the payment, but only for the employer share of Social Security and Medicare. So it's only your part of it. Everything else still has to be paid. The amount due has to be repaid in equal installments over the next 2 years, in addition to your normal payroll taxes. So I don't know that this would be beneficial to most small businesses, because most small businesses run off of, are pretty close to the line of keeping their cash flow going on a regular basis. When your cash flow stops completely, yes, this will be beneficial, but keep in mind, then you're going to have to increase your cash flow for 2021 in order to cover this. It is not available if you have one of the covered loans under the payroll protection plan. So you cannot do both. You have to either do one or the other. The covered loans under these payroll protection acts, this is a special loan from the SBA that can be used only to pay certain expenses, including payroll. Some of the other expenses are things like utilities, mortgage, the interest only on your mortgage, so you can't pay the principal on it. I don't remember what the other two are. I was just working on that this morning. There's two other ones that you can do. We are going to have a class on this one tomorrow of how to apply for the loans and how you qualify for it. So that one will be tomorrow at 11, and you can sign up either on my website, or Jared put the URL in there for that. Other provisions. An employer can contribute. Now, then these are things that don't have anything to do with taxes that they put into this bill, okay? An employer can contribute up to $5,250 to pay an employee's student loans now. You can only do this for 1 year. What's really cool about this is that, especially if your business is still running, such as restaurants and stuff that are still doing carryout, are actually making really good money right now, because nobody, unfortunately, we raised a whole generation that doesn't know how to cook. So, so a lot of these guys are running out and do that, and some of these restaurants are actually doing really well. So you can do this. The payments will not be taxable to the employee, but it will be a deduction for the business. So you can do this as a special, thing for your employees. Employee assistance for reasonable, necessary family living or funeral expenses can be paid by the employer without being taxable to the employee. But if it's a funeral or medical, it has to be directly in a direct result of this. So if their dad has a heart attack, you are not going to be paying for the funeral. But if they die because of the virus, then you can help them with the funeral expenses. You can also help with childcare costs and telecommuting costs. This one is a big one because a lot of people are not set up as a home office. I have worked from home for 20 years. So this was nothing new to me. I mean, I have always worked from home. But a lot of people don't have things like computers and office, a printer at their house, or some people don't even have a desk at their house. So if you're providing these things for your employee, you can also do stuff for like increased utilities at their house, over the year before, because of having to have all of the computer equipment and stuff running.
Also internet use.
Yeah, and internet and all sorts of stuff that you can add to this because of them having to work from home. If they already had a home office, then no, you cannot do this. I tried that one already, it doesn't work. Okay. No documentation is required by the employee to the employer. So this is a non-accountability plan that you can do for them. You don't have to have them bring every receipt as long as it's reasonable. Now, if they're asking you for $400 a month for increase in utilities, you know that is not reasonable. But if it's a $20 bill that they're asking for, you don't have to have, documentation. Personally, I would ask them for the documentation, because you're not required to not ask them. Okay, so I would still get the documentation.
And if they give you an unreasonable number, send me an email and I will let you know how to have that conversation.
Yes, because I am not good at that stuff. That's Tammy's area. Okay. Employee leave donation programs. You can actually, what they are trying to encourage is you to donate your leave to another employee that may be sick. So you can, now then, this doesn't mean that, basically, I don't know why this is even in the bill. I mean, I don't know of a single place that's not going to allow them to donate their, Tammy, you might be able to address that better than I can. Your mic is up there.
It's been going on for years, and it's a really great company perk if you can have it. It does great for morale, and especially if you have a company where people don't always use their PTO, and then you have somebody become terminally ill or have a child become terminally ill or something. Donating PTO is really a beautiful thing. It's been practiced for a long time, so I'm not sure why it's here either.
Yeah, so you can donate it, or it also allows the employee to donate what the money they would have received to a charity. So if if somebody wants to do that, they can. But again, I don't know why this is in there. This has been going on for a long time. Loans to employees are not taxable to the employee, but they have never been taxable to the employee. So again, I don't know why this one is in there. You just have to make sure that the interest on a loan to an employee is not below market interest rate. Right now, the market interest rate is fluctuating so much that call me if you need to know what the interest rate is. Just call me and I'll look it up for you real quick, because this thing is fluctuating daily. So just, on the day that you do this for them, the only caution I have is make sure you have it in writing that it is a loan and not, and not wages, because if you don't have it if you don't have it in writing with them signing it, then if you were ever to be audited, then you're going to have to prove that you gave them a loan and it wasn't part of their income. So just make sure it's in writing.
Cindy, do you by chance have a document like that?
No, I don't. I usually, mostly because it's a legal document and I'm not allowed to do those. So
I am. I'll see if I can get one just in case one of my clients needs it, basically.
Yeah, because Yeah, because I'm just not allowed to do those because of our certification requirements. So if Tammy can do them, get those from her but make sure it's in writing or you're going to be in trouble under audit. You're not coming through on the audio, Tammy.
I don't have one right now, but I will try and find one, just full disclosure.
Okay. Severance pay. Some states do require that you do severance pay. I found out a couple of days ago that New Jersey actually has a severance payment package that just went into effect, was just signed into law like February 1st or something. The problem is it doesn't go into effect until June 30th. And so they are not required to do severance pay until June 30th. But there are some states that require you to do severance pay if you lay somebody off. So, but here in Colorado, we are not one of those that require it. So if you want to do severance pay, you can, but it's not required. You can also be obligated to continue health benefits under COBRA. So make sure that even if your business closes, that you are watching those COBRA benefits. Because yes, the employer has, or the employee pays you for those, but you still have to do the coverage and do all the paperwork. And I hate COBRA paperwork. It is just, call Tammy if you need to do COBRA paperwork, because I know she can do those. I hate those.
Thanks, Cindy.
You're welcome. Oh, I went backwards. Okay, let's see here. Tammy, you're gonna do these ones, so just tell me when you want me to move forward.
Okay, go ahead and move forward. So by the way, initially this was supposed to all go into effect April 2nd, and they just made it the 1st to make it a 1st, which I get. We may go through my slides fairly quickly because a lot of it's already been covered. But as an employer, if you're open, you do need to post new posters that came out this morning from the Department of Labor. If you're on my newsletter list, you will get a newsletter from me today or tomorrow morning with a link for these posters where you can download them and print them. It's just a PDF. There are 2 separate ones. Yeah, I got it about 10 o'clock this morning, knowing I was going to see you guys at 2. So, so that's good. We are getting more information from the Department of Labor. Go ahead and forward, Cindy. Who qualifies? We already went over that. I mentioned that if they have paid time off, they can use it for the first 10 days of their leave, but they can't use it for all of their leave. And I think that's an important savings for a small business owner. So where if they qualify, but they get 2/3, they can use 10 days of PTO for this, and then the rest goes under 2/3 pay. And that could actually save an employer quite a lot of money. There are a few reasons that you have to pay them out the whole 12 weeks, and that goes back to like the first 3 reasons. It just depends on how they're taking leave. Next slide. Okay, my FAQs. These are what I wanted to go over with people. Can you ask an employee, and by the way, these are just questions that people have said, Tammy, what do I do about this? Can I cancel an employee's vacation due to the emergency? Yes, you can. Certainly people in the healthcare sector are being canceled, but you should, they may not want to go on vacation now because they can't go where they were going anyway. So, but you should just know the liabilities if you do. They could make you or ask you and try to get you to legally pay for their vacation if you cancel it. That would be an expensive thing for them to try to do legally, and they would probably lose, but you would still spend money on lawyers. So, pay the person, not the lawyer. Frankly, it's cheaper. And it will hurt morale for sure. Can I tell my employees they can't travel? No, you cannot tell your employees anything they can or cannot do off the clock. Can I insist that my employees work from home? Yes, you can, but you might have to produce the technology for them. If they don't have a laptop or if they don't have the internet, which would be pretty hard to believe, but it's possible, right? If they don't have internet or if they don't have a decent computer, you would be responsible for providing that. I do like that the reimbursement piece is there for utilities for them for this sort of situation. Some people's work needs a higher bandwidth. They may just need to upgrade their internet service if they have like a really minimal one. And that's only if you're going to be crabby with them about videos not so clear for them or whatever. What if an employee tests positive for COVID-19? What are my responsibilities as an employer? I've gotten this in a few different instances. One was a law firm that wanted to know if they would have to let their clients know or not. So they had, and I was like, oh my God, you have it in your building. This is what you do. And she was like, no, I'm just asking the question. As an employer, I know, I was like, wow, you're thinking of everything. As an employer, you need to let your staff know they've been exposed. That is not a legal precedent. It is an ethical precedent, but you do not legally have to, just so that you know. But you can't use their name. You have to keep your employees' health confidentiality. There are HR reasons that are in place over any health issues, and this falls under it, of course. So you would say, let's say Shannon worked for me, and I go to the staff, and suddenly Shannon's not at work, and we're covering all of her shifts. And then I would say, hey guys, just so you know, we had somebody come down with COVID-19. They are home quarantining, and I need to legally let you know you've been exposed. I cannot say who. Of course, they're gonna know the person who is missing is the person. But for HR legal reasons, you just can't use their name. Go ahead, next slide. Some proactive steps that you can take when you're looking at scheduling for your business. Do your employees have changes in availability? If they're students, they could have open availability and support you at different times. If they are parents, they could have less availability and support you at different times. So for the kind of companies like restaurants and things that have people fill out an availability sheet, my best practice right now is to have everybody redo it. When are they available for you and when are they not? That way you can schedule strategically. If they have childcare concerns, could you help them basically carpool childcare? Do you have 2 or 3 moms or dads that all have a childcare concern? And could you as the manager just make sure that that all 3 of them were never on the schedule together, so that maybe they could, share and help each other at a cost-free basis? And if you don't think of these things, they may not, right? So they may not even know each other well. And if they don't feel comfortable, of course, they don't have to do any of these things. This is not a mandate from an employer, but this is a conversation you could have to help them get through this time and keep their job and have everybody have inexpensive healthcare, or childcare, if not free childcare. So just some things to think about. And then also think about your customers' needs and how they have changed. Do you need to go online? I know we're kind of late in the game for this to be talking about that, but, do you need curbside pickup? Do you want to take on DoorDash? You've never done DoorDash or Uber Eats. So how does your customer need you differently right now? Next slide. The biggest question of all, how will I know when to close my business? Nobody can answer that question for you. Everybody who works with me knows I do not make any decisions in your business. But between the new Family Medical Leave Act and all of the changing things from the CDC and government recommendations, a lot of times businesses are having that decision made for them. And then I have a little list of who needs to be closed down right now. Knowing everybody on the call, I know you already know. And by the way, you and your employees can apply for unemployment. I checked yesterday morning. The form for the self-employed unemployment is not up yet as of yesterday morning. So I was hoping to be able to go, here's the link, because I know that lots of us can use it. So next slide. Making the decision to close. Cindy talked a lot about doing the math on which loans are better for you, and I know it's government regulations. Nothing is clear and simple, but my recommendation is to do the math when you make the decision, whether you're whether you can serve your customer enough to pay for all the things you're going to have to pay for if you stay open. And I want to let everybody know too, the unemployment right now is coming through federal funding. This should not impact your unemployment insurance premiums, because people are not actually filing for unemployment on your business. They're filing for it on the government's bill right now. So that's good news too. Next slide. Above all else, stay safe, stay healthy, and be ready to hit the ground running when this is over. What kind of questions?
Come on, guys. What questions?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So I actually don't employ any employees. All of my workers are independent contractors.
Yes.
I might have missed the part where we talked about independent contractors. Which part applies to me, since there are a lot of employee things?
Well, as an independent when they're all independent contractors, then the family leave and all that stuff will not apply to you at all. However, you can apply for all of the small business loan stuff. And not only you, but your contractors can also apply for it. So you can, depending on whether or not you're keeping them employed will determine which of the loans that you would qualify to do. Keep in mind, some of these loans are forgivable loans.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of them are essentially a grant. And so you have to, keep in mind which one you would fall under and whether or not your contractor will be one that could apply for these on their own.
Okay.
Also, when they get the form out for people who are self-employed to apply for unemployment, they'll be able to apply for that as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that to them whenever it comes out.
Are you on my email list?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, do you want me to add you? Because when that comes out, I'm going to send a link out.
Yeah, that'll be good. And then I also didn't know that there were 3 different SBA loans. Is
There's
there just one
actually
application?
7 of them. Yeah, I was going through them this morning trying to figure out which ones were applied to what. So yeah, there's actually 7 of them.
Okay. I'm not sure even which one I applied for then.
And you're going to go over that tomorrow, right?
Yep, I'll be going over that tomorrow. Keep in mind that more than likely the one you applied for was the emergency, can't remember the whole acronym for it. Emergency leave, oh no, emergency injured disaster.
Economic injury grants?
Yeah,
No.
because the one for the other one, the payment or payroll program.
The PPP?
Yeah. That one, they don't even have the application for that up on their website yet. They have until tomorrow to get it up. So we'll see if they actually are able to do it. But so more than likely it was the emergency one that you had applied for, because the other one isn't up there yet. But there are 5 others in addition to those 2 that you can also apply for, but those are loans that have been in place but were either enhanced or some of the requirements changed with the new law. So some of them some of them are really actually pretty cool loans to start with, that for starting new businesses and stuff like that and getting capital or purchasing buildings and stuff. And so in some of these you can get up to $10 million per business. I can't even imagine a small business under 500 employees needing a $10 million loan, but we'll see. Okay. But yeah, we'll be going over those tomorrow at 11. We'll be covering the these three, the payment, payroll protection program, the emergency economic, and I had it right here and didn't even look, emergency economic injury grants, and the small business debt relief program. And then I'll be going a little bit into the other ones that you can also apply for, but not as in depth, just telling you what changed in them.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, ideas how to grow your business during this time. I know we're all thinking, oh no, we're stuck in the house, we can't do anything. One of the ones I saw that I thought was really cool, they actually did a planning retreat with all of their employees doing either through Zoom or Skype or whatever. When you're all quarantined at home, that's when you start coming up with all these ideas. I don't know if you realize this, but most inventions happened during a time of crisis. When I mean, gravity was actually, the concept was there, but the proof of how it worked actually came about during the bubonic plague, when everybody was stuck at home and they didn't have anything else to do. And so a lot of major inventions occurred when everybody was under a quarantine act. And so if you think about it, your employees are smart. Otherwise, you would not have them, right? So if you get everybody together on some of these meetings, you can come up with some really fresh ideas of how to connect with your customers when this is all over.
Well, and I was also thinking about creative revenue streams for a service-based business. Yeah.
Yeah, and they may have some ideas that you had never thought about. So, we can do something like that. You can also, there's some that are repurposing their business. There's a few breweries that are actually making hand sanitizer now instead of beer, because they can sell that and keep open.
Mary Kay is doing it.
Yeah.
I got an email that Mary Kay was going to start making hand sanitizer for a while instead of anything else.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just amazing. So, making these face masks, manufacturing ventilators. I mean, I know that there was a bunch of people in Italy that Italy needed some kind of a part for a respirator that the manufacturer couldn't do enough of them. So a bunch of the 3D printer guys got together and made the parts for them. Now, what the manufacturer didn't like, because they're actually suing the 3D printer guys right now, but what they didn't like is that the manufacturers sell this part for $11,000 each.
Oh.
The 3D printer guys were able to make them for under $1 for each one, and they work perfectly. So, be creative. What are different ways that you can use your business and take some of the stuff that you're already doing, either move it online, do all of those things. I'm sure you guys can come up with some really great ideas. And if you want to, we'll do a class, or we'll do a networking webinar with everybody, just pulling out those ideas of what all we came up with.
That'd be fun.
Okay. There's some other things. Several states and cities are offering assistance. I know Denver, downtown Denver, has some grants that they are doing. Fort Collins has some grants that they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you look on their websites and see which ones are doing these special grants. You can also look up your state's information to see other local assistant programs. I just have a list of all of the states here. You can just check and see which ones are doing it. But some of them are doing some major grants for people. So keep in mind that those things are out there too. We don't have to rely just on the federal. There are some businesses like the cannabis business is not allowed to to apply for any of these grants or anything because they're considered an illegal business by the federal.
Good.
So they are going to be relying on the state ones to be able to continue. So if you have any questions, or if you come up with, if you have a scenario you want to talk through, me and Tammy will be available. And if you'd like to, we'll set up one of these for sometime next week, and just as a brainstorming session of how we can make our businesses grow during this time. Okay, that's all I have. Tammy, do you have anything?
No, thanks for letting me join you today.
And I will email out Tammy has a handout for everyone. And so I will email that to you, and I will also email a copy of the slides to you.
Thank
so,
you.
And then you will have all these links for the different websites and stuff you need. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
not a problem. So if you have any questions, give us a call. Otherwise, we're all done. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. I'm going to sign up for the SBA loan one tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
can you
so
put
much.
that link inside the group chat, actually?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I think I have it so you can share the other classes and stuff too. And I've got another one we're doing just for investors too. Because there's some things specifically for them for when people can't pay rent and stuff like that. So
Cool.
All
Okay.
right. Well, thanks, ladies.
thank
Bye.
you. You have a good day. Bye.